Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I would like to welcome WIT students and staff that are joining us today. This is our second day of Journey from Student to Employee panel. We do have 3 WIT alumni with us today to answer some questions that will hopefully provide more insight as to what it was like as a student at WIT for them and how it feels to graduate and start that next chapter of your life. I'm going to start with Tyler. If you would please introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, like maybe where you're from, what your major was at WIT, and anything else you'd like to share at this time.
Yeah, definitely. So, hi all. My name is Tyler Hahn. I am the director of the Cherokee Public Library in Cherokee, Iowa. I graduated in 2011 from Western Iowa Tech with my degree in just general education. I went ahead and transferred off to the University of Iowa. But before that, I had graduated from Western Iowa Tech as well with my GED in 2007.
Wonderful. All right, Laura, would you like to go next, please?
Sure. Making sure I didn't have the mute on. I always do that. Anyway, my name is Laura Canuck. I am a nursing instructor here at the Sioux City campus. I myself was a WIT nursing student. I graduated with my ADN back in probably 2009, something like that. Right after that, I went to the University of Iowa for my bachelor's degree and then continued on to Briarcliff for my master's in nursing education. I did teach for Briarcliff for 3 years and then was actually hired to start the nursing program in Cherokee. And then this last fall, I transferred to the Sioux City campus. So right now I live on, I'm originally from Siouxland area. I grew up in Ida Grove, not too far away from here. My husband and I have a farm just outside of Kingsley, Pearson area, and we have cows. I have my goats, and we have 3 kids. So,
and in that mix, you have 3 kids.
And I have 3 kids, my other kids.
Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Strim. I currently live in Des Moines, Iowa. I work for Des Moines Public Schools. I'm the Title IX and Equal Opportunity Specialist. I investigate sexual harassment and discrimination claims throughout Des Moines Public Schools. Just started in that position this year in January. Before that, I was a success case manager with Des Moines Public Schools for about 9 years. And I was just reaching out to students who were dropped or dropped out of school and pretty much providing them with support, resources, whether it be financial, housing, educational, for them to be successful and then graduate. I was at WIT for 2 years. I did not graduate. I transferred to a 4-year. My story is a little bit different. I actually was a teen mom. I graduated from high school and then immediately went to WIT. I was involved with the Upward Bound program in like middle school and in high school. And that's what kind of connected me, what kind of drew me to higher education, if you will. But then I knew I wasn't going to stop with just 2 years. I wanted to go on and get a 4-year degree. So I ended up transferring to Iowa State University and I graduated with a bachelor's in child and family services. I have 3 daughters and a granddaughter, if you will. So yeah, I've been busy. My life has lots of fun, fulfilling stories, but that's me.
Thank you. Excuse me. Wow, this is going to be an amazing panel today. We have quite a I guess, difference in pathways that each one of our panelists have taken and how they got there. So this is going to be really exciting. Before we go any further, I do want to mention that this panel is brought to you by Career Services, WIT Alumni, and the TRIO services. So as we go along, you will hear some of those sections of WIT mentioned along the way from our our graduates. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with our first question. And it is, what did it feel like going from a student to a graduate? So were you nervous? Were you excited? Can you just kind of give us a little bit of what your feelings were like when you were getting ready to graduate? And we'll start with Tyler.
Yeah, so I had a lot of different feelings. I was excited. I was a little bit nervous because I wasn't exactly sure what was going to come next. I knew I wanted to go ahead and transfer. I just wasn't necessarily sure where I wanted to go ahead and transfer to, but the staff at TRIO Student Support Services really helped me ease that transition and really took a lot of the burden and weight of that transition off my shoulders. But I was a first generation college student. So it was really rewarding to go ahead and just take that first step where nobody else in my family had gone ahead and taken.
Very nice. Laura?
Gosh, elated, just so happy. So, oh my gosh, there's no feeling like that. We talked about yesterday that, you work so hard. There's so many sacrifices, friends wanting to go out and you're like, no, I gotta stay and I gotta study. And then when it comes to the end and it's graduation day, oh, for me, it was a wonderful feeling.
And Tiffany?
Excitement. I mean, I didn't graduate, like I said, I didn't graduate from WIT, but transferring from WIT to a larger university was exciting. I would definitely say that Student Support Services and the TRIO program helped prepare me for that, transition. But I would say I've probably always been the type of student and the type of woman that I'm just ready. I'm always ready for the next opportunity. I tend to get a little bored with life. And so I'm like on to the next best thing. So ready and excitement is my answer.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. But I think there's a kind of a consensus that everyone was a little bit nervous, but excited to kind of move on to their next step after their education. So, all right. Are you working in the major that you started with at WIT, or I guess Tiffany, in your case, you went on to, and Tyler both went on to more education. So if you just want to kind of share a little background in that, Tyler?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was going through, I focused a lot on history and anthropology. But when I was first going to WIT, I was actually interested in the nursing program. I was looking at our employment outlooks for nursing staff. I really enjoyed my initial courses through like biology, human A&P, micro, and I was just like, oh yeah, I crushed it. Nursing will be really easy. But then I kind of had an epiphany that, oh, well, nurses are kind of dealing with people when they're not necessarily at their best or their happiest. And I don't know if that would be a good transition to me, because there's some days where I have some trouble dealing with people like when they are like, yeah, at their best. So I actually went to school for anthropology and archaeology, where I got to use a lot of those skills that I learned in A&P. But interestingly enough, I'm not really digging holes right now. I used those skills and transitioned into building databases and working on digital or metadata within a library. So sort of.
Laura?
Yeah, I am currently working in my major. I stuck with nursing, and although I'm not practicing as a nurse, I am educating future nurses.
Wonderful. And Tiffany?
I did not declare a major while I was at WIT because I knew I would be transferring. Like I had said before, I majored in Iowa State Child and Family Services with an emphasis on youth. And I would say that I definitely followed that path, and in a roundabout way, am still kind of doing that work. I actually did go on even further to Simpson to get my master's degree in criminal justice. And then I currently was working on a second master's at Drake University to get a degree in mental health counseling. But with my current position with DMPS, I thought it was just best to just kind of sit still for a minute. And so I don't know if I'll continue to pursue that counseling degree, but I will say that the education that I received at WIT and at Iowa State and definitely at Simpson has kind of helped mold me into the type of work that I'm doing today.
Wonderful. I love hearing the journeys that each one of you took to get to where you're at right now. Some of you took that straight path like Laura. A couple of you took some winding roads to get to where you're at. How about, and again, I think you have, some of you, or a couple of you have kind of, I guess, told me a little bit about some of the services that you were a part of, but can you go into a little bit more detail about maybe what activities you were involved with at WIT or the services that you utilized? I know you mentioned the trio, and but what about, like, was anyone in Student Senate? Did anyone travel with the, well, when we could travel before COVID, and I think all of you were before that, but Mike Brown is Student Activities Director, and I know that he had tons of different activities for students to get involved with. So could you kind of maybe elaborate on that? Where did you get involved in any of that, or aware of the activities that you could get involved with? And Tyler, would you like to start?
Yeah, so as I've touched on before, I was very involved with TRIO student support services, so much so that I was a science tutor for the Cherokee campus. And that Cherokee is really where I based a lot of my education out of, and it was really nice to have that as a resource within my community and building rapport with students at the other campuses. I knew of things which were going on, and I would kind of live almost vicariously through them with, like, anime club with Helen Lewis, and we would kind of have our own little offshoots and recommendations and doing things through that. But I sadly didn't make it to Sioux City very often to go ahead and be involved in a lot of the student life activities, but those activities still did go ahead and branch out to the branch campuses. Just, it was more or less filtered through students, which was nice.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that it was branched out, because I know that's something that we try to make sure of, that our branches also get involved with as many things as we can involve them in. So thank you. How about you, Laura?
Man, when I think about to when I was in nursing school, I just remember being busy, studying clinicals at the hospital. I also was working as a cashier at Menards. I probably put in 30 some hours a week doing that. For resources, I mean, I remember going to talk to like financial aid and my advisor. With everything, I don't remember having a whole lot of other activities going on, but I do know just from working here now that, like, I see the nursing club going on and the good things that they're doing around the community, and makes me really feel connected to and getting the students connected to things that are happening around.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate you helping the students find those activities and those services that we have, definitely. And Tiffany, how about when you were at WIT?
So I'm actually originally from Sioux City, born and raised, and I graduated from West High. So, I mean, all of my community and support system was right there in Sioux City. I would say I definitely took advantage of all the opportunities and support with Student Support Services and TRIO. I had a phenomenal mentor, Mike Brown. And so but I was also a mom. My daughter, my oldest daughter, was an infant when I started WIT. So my first priority was being a mother to her. And then my second was school. Anything outside of that really didn't fit in my life at that time. So I didn't have that traditional student experience. I definitely was more considered a non-traditional student. So anything that involved family or children or just transferring and moving on to higher education was what my focus was while I was at WIT.
Thank you. Okay, how about, are you still in contact with some of the friends that you made in college, or maybe it was faculty, your professor, or some staff? Are any of you, I know Laura, of course you work here, so you are, but how about Tyler and Tiffany? Tyler, do you still keep in contact with some of the people that you met at WIT or some of your professors?
Oh, definitely. So I made a lot of friends while I was in school, and it's kind of funny because I worked for Western Iowa Tech for a time in the library as well before I moved on to directorship here in Cherokee. So I still go ahead and talk with like Leslie Erickson, Sharon from the library, Alex, who used to work in the library. I have many friends in IT. You know, there were many times I was doing reference questions for Julene, Dr. Alberts. It is just great. And it's still nice to go ahead and catch up with all of those people and know that they're doing wonderful things in the community and for our community.
Wonderful. Laura, I don't want to disclude you because you do work at WIT. So would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a unique situation to be in where your colleagues were your teachers at one time. Heather is my teaching buddy now for nursing 2, and she was my nursing 1 instructor. And then when I was going through my master's program, she was also my mentor. So I did something like 360 hours with her one semester. So I would say, you know, Heather and I definitely have a special, I would like to say friendship with that. But yeah, and then, you know, I went to school with nurses. They're working all over and we run into each other quite a bit. And a lot of them are at the hospital. So when I go take students to the hospital, they're there. But then, you know, it's great because I kind of know who my students would be good to pair with. So, but yeah.
And Tiffany.
Students, probably not. I couldn't even tell you some of the classmates that I might have been in class with, but I definitely have some sort of connection still with Mike Brown. But other than that, I mean, I feel like that was almost 20 years ago for me now. So I'm not so sure. I've had a lot of life happen since then. So I'm not quite sure if I can recall.
That's okay. I can relate to that. I know sometimes it feels like, oh, it was just yesterday. And then there's times where it's like, oh my goodness, it was that long ago. Okay. So we're doing these panels to kind of help the students that are at WIT, that are, whether they're going to graduate from WIT, whether they're going to transfer on, or, I mean, just to help them in any way. And so I guess a question I would have is, what kind of advice would you give students right now that are at WIT? And it can be, it can be any kind of advice, whether it's if you're thinking about getting a bachelor's degree or if it is, going into the workforce. Tiffany, you have quite a background with, you started a family early, and that was very important. And it looks like you did wonderful at juggling everything that you had going on. And so maybe you could maybe share a little bit about that journey, because it couldn't have been easy. And I'm sure there's plenty of students that are in the same boat that you were at that time. So, Tyler, do you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, definitely. So my biggest piece of advice would be look for others at the college who can go ahead and assist you. There are specialists everywhere who can lighten the load and ease your burden and make your journey through school easier. You paid for those resources, utilize those resources, and just have the courage to go ahead and ask for help. Everybody is there to go ahead and assist.
Thank you. Laura.
My biggest advice, I guess, just talk to people. Kind of goes with what Tyler was saying, have those conversations with people if you need additional support. And I know my students, I'm always telling them that I have, quite a few non-traditional students as well that have families that, use the supports that you have at your home if you can, and have them help you. And then somebody yesterday had mentioned, talk to your instructors. Absolutely. Go and talk to us. We want to help you along the way. We don't always know that you need help if you don't tell us. So please come and talk to us.
Very good. And Tiffany.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off what Laura just said, because being a young mom with a young child, there was countless times where I had teachers just say, like, talk to me, let me know what's going on if you need an extension or if you can't make it. So I would say my biggest advice is definitely, like, let people know what's going on in your life. That doesn't mean you have to sit there and give them the sob story, but just let people know and be open to that support. I would say what has really helped me get as far as I have is I've been open to opportunities and I've been open to support. I never looked at myself as a charity case. I never looked at the opportunities or the blessings that I was given as charity. I just looked at it as, I know I want to go somewhere, and the only way I'm going to get there is if I have a village kind of cheering me on. And so I just kind of went with that and I ran with it, and I still do that today. The other thing is, don't be afraid to kind of step outside the box and pursue other avenues that you might not have considered. I did go a different path than a lot of the friends that I was in high school with, or even probably some of the people that I was in school with. And so you just have to pick what's best for you and kind of keep that tunnel vision. I had a drive in me that knew I wanted something more. And that's really what has led me and continues to lead me today. But take on opportunities, stay open, be a yes person. Yes, I would love to do this. Yes, I will try that.
I like that. So that kind of leads into maybe my next question is, so when you were studying and getting your education, did you think about, like, what jobs are going to be out there for me when I graduate? I mean, did you look forward or look ahead in whether you wanted to stay in Sioux City or if you wanted to move to, a smaller town or a bigger town? Were you looking at the opportunities at that time? Like, what's out there for what I'm going to major in or what I'm going to study? Were you looking ahead at that time? Tyler?
Well, I guess with me, it was kind of yes and no. I knew that more than likely I wasn't going to be an archaeologist digging out in the field, but I knew that I had a skill set that I could go ahead and utilize and market. And with that, I was seeing within the labor force, there were places where I could go ahead and plug those skills in rather seamlessly. And it just so happened that libraries were a great place for that. And it's kind of interesting. The more that you research and look, the more that you see there are job opportunities. So with libraries, for instance, there's over 540 libraries in the state of Iowa. They're all going to, need directors or HR or like children's librarians, to where there are opportunities.
Very much. Right. And Laura?
I think with nursing, the biggest challenge is like which part of nursing are you going to go to? Like my sister, she's a nurse too, and she's the adrenaline junkie. She knew the ER was where she was going to be. Me, I'm not so much an adrenaline junkie. So I actually started off in like the nursing home settings. I actually worked in at the Mercy South Clinic in urgent care. That's over in Des Moines. Tiffany, I don't know, like over east side by the zoo, kind of. Yep. So saw a lot of interesting things there. I think about that time. Being so close to the zoo, we did see some animal bites and things like that. Yeah, and just trying to, sometimes you have so many opportunities, and I think that it's true in nursing that it's like, okay, which one is going to suit me the best? Like I really like this place, but they only have overnights available. I really like this place, but the benefits aren't good. And so it can be challenging to try to, weigh those pros versus cons and decide.
Yeah, a lot of different opportunities in nursing.
Yep.
Lots. Tiffany?
Before I answer this question, I want to backtrack because I didn't mention a very imperative thing that really helped me be successful for those that are non-traditional students or that have families. Align yourself with like-minded other students or other families, because I had to really kind of create that village of, oh, you have a daughter, you have a son, like, hey, can you, trade off with babysitting or study time or play dates, so that was really important. I wanted to make sure that I said that. But while I was at WIT, I guess I didn't really explore too many career opportunities because I knew that I wasn't done. I knew that my goal was to receive a bachelor's. So it was more of, where am I going to finish my education at? That was more my focus. And what major will I declare when I get there? So that's kind of my answer.
Okay, well, I think we've seen some great or heard some great stories here, different stories. I love Tyler saying, he had a mindset. He knew that what he was studying may not be, I guess, as feasible in Iowa to do, but he had a mindset, and he went with that. And Laura, I love that you talked about all the different areas of nursing. You have to take, okay, do I want to work nights? Do I want that adrenaline? Do I, and
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany, finding people that are similar to, with your background and reaching out and the drive that you have. Wow, this has been really, I know, exciting for me to hear. And I actually work with high school students right now, and I'm going to take a lot of the things that you guys have shared with me and share with them, and tell them, like, it's okay to not know exactly what you want to do when you're in college or even when you graduate. It's okay to, to explore. Even if you graduated with a major that is not so easy to find a job in that field in Iowa or wherever you decide to live, but it's okay to change. It's okay to to explore different things and not to be scared, right, Tiffany? Be a yes person and don't be scared to try different things. So, well, I think we're getting to the end of our time because we want to be meaningful of everyone's time, and we set a half an hour. But first of all, I want to say thank you, Tyler, Laura, Tiffany. Thank you so much for sharing. We hope to have you back on another panel sometime soon. I think the information and stories that you have are inspiring, and I hope that students from WIT are going to watch this and also kind of find their calling and find their niche. So, and also thank you to Career Services, the Alumni Association, and the TRIO Support Services. They made this happen. It was a village that took to, think about how to do this panel and who to reach out to. So we thank everyone involved, and we look forward to many more sessions of talking to a WIT alumni. So thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.